Few musicians have captured the sound of rebellion as completely as Steve Jones. As the guitarist for the Sex Pistols, Jones didn't just play punk rock, he invented its sound. Dirty, defiant, and full of danger. His guitar riffs were the heartbeat of the band's chaotic revolution, turning raw emotion into anthems that tore through the polite facade of 1970s Britain. But behind the sneer and swagger was a complex man. A survivor who transformed his troubled youth into one of rock's most enduring legacies. Stephen Philip Jones was born on September 3, 1955, in Shepherd's Bush, London. His early life was marked by hardship. Raised in a working-class environment by a single mother, he grew up without much stability or direction. School didn't hold his interest, and by his teens, he'd already fallen into petty crime, shoplifting, joyriding, and breaking into homes. It wasn't music that saved him at first. It was sheer survival. Yet, somewhere in the chaos, Jones found an outlet: the guitar. Like many kids of his generation, Jones was inspired by the great British rock bands of the 1960s, the Rolling Stones, The Who, and David Bowie. But he didn't want to imitate them. He wanted to channel their raw energy. With no formal training, he taught himself to play on stolen instruments, learning by ear and instinct. That rough, unpolished approach became his signature, a sound too raw for classic rock, too sharp for blues, and too real for anything else. It was punk before punk existed. In 1972, Jones formed a band with his childhood friend Paul Cook, first called The Strand and later The Swankers. They spent years bouncing between ideas, members, and identities, searching for something that matched their restless spirit. That search led them to a charismatic manager named Malcolm McLaren, who was already managing the New York Dolls. McLaren saw something dangerous and magnetic in Jones and Cook, the makings of a revolution. When Johnny Rotten, John Lydon, joined on vocals and Glenn Matlock on bass, the Sex Pistols were born. Steve Jones became the band's backbone. While Rotten gave punk its voice and attitude, Jones gave it its sound. His guitar tone, thick, distorted, and relentless, defined the Sex Pistols' 1977 masterpiece, Nevermind the Bollocks. Here's the Sex Pistols. On tracks like Anarchy in the UK, God Save the Queen, and Holidays in the Sun, his riffs exploded like sirens of rebellion. He didn't play like a virtuoso. He played like a fighter, each chord a punch thrown at authority, conformity, and the establishment. Offstage, Jones embodied the chaos of punk life. The band's live shows were notorious, full of confrontations, chaos, and controversy. Their raw honesty made them cultural lightning rods, and Jones relished the chaos, though it often came at a personal cost. The pressures of fame, drugs, and constant media attention wore him down. When the Sex Pistols imploded in 1978 after their disastrous US tour, Jones was left with fame but no direction. After the breakup, Jones kept playing. He formed The Professionals with Paul Cook, releasing albums that carried the spirit of punk into a new decade. He also worked as a session guitarist for artists like Iggy Pop, Joan Jett, and Billy Idol. By the 1980s, Jones had moved to Los Angeles, reinventing himself once again, this time as a respected radio DJ and solo artist. His 1989 solo album Mercy showcased a more melodic side of his songwriting, proving that even punk legends could evolve. Yet, his past never left him. Jones has spoken candidly about his struggles with addiction, self-destruction, and identity. In interviews and in his acclaimed 2016 memoir, Lonely Boy, Tales from a Sex Pistol, he reflects on his chaotic youth with brutal honesty and surprising vulnerability. The book, later adapted into the FX series Pistol, directed by Danny Boyle, gave fans a deeper look into his journey, not just as a musician, but as a human being trying to find peace in the aftermath of revolution. Today, Steve Jones stands as one of rock's true originals, the man who took 3 chords and turned them into cultural dynamite. His playing continues to influence generations of musicians, from punk and metal to alternative rock. But what makes Jones special isn't just his riffs. It's his resilience. He came from nothing, started a fire that changed music forever, and lived to tell the tale. Steve Jones never set out to be a hero or a symbol. He just wanted to make noise. And in doing so, he gave a voice to millions who felt unheard. His guitar didn't just play punk rock, it was punk rock.